none. This is the November 7th, 2024 meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29th, 2023 signing of the Acts of 2023 extending certain COVID measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. This meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings provided for in the order. A reminder, persons who'd like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 187-767-579#, or join the meeting via the link on the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public may speak to any issue, hearing, or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by the chair. The meetings are conducted as follows. First, we'll start with a roll call of all board members saying that they approve of this method of meetings, starting on that end, and we'll just go around.
Yeah, David H. Veach, and I approve.
Ed Acton, I approve.
David S. Nixon, I approve.
Paul C. Semple, I approve.
Stephen D. DeBoer, I approve.
Virginia Fenwick, I approve.
And Randy Potash, I approve as well. If anybody is participating via the call, please state your name and your last four digits of the phone number for identification purposes when and if recognized. Next, the hearing notice will be read by staff, Sarah Clark on my right, and then you will present, or your representative will present the appeal or application. Anyone in favor will have an opportunity to respond for up to 5 minutes, and then I will read any and all correspondences. Then anybody that has a question or would like to speak against the appeal or application will have an opportunity to do that. And those are limited to 5 minutes for people in favor or people against. And there'll be a clock up there, fair for everybody. Let's see. Then the applicant will have a chance to rebut anything that they've heard that they disagree with. Board members will ask questions. We'll also then close the public hearing and move into deliberations. At the end of the deliberations, we will usually vote on the application, and then all votes will be taken by roll call, and at the end of the meeting, we'll close via verbal confirmation and note the time of adjournment. With that, we have one set of minutes, Paul.
Yes, I'll move to approve the minutes of October 10, 2024 as published.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes as well. For our first application, one of our associate members will be recusing himself, Steve DeBoer, because it is his property. And he will be leaving the room.
Ask that I be recused from the
Yep,
24-114 hearing.
You're recused and excused. See you on the other side. And whenever Sarah's ready, she will read the posted application.
Application number 24-114, Stephen and Donna DeBoer, care of Theodore Stribert, 15 Linden Tree Lane, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owners of property located at 178 George Ryder Road South, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessors Map 7D, Block 42, Lot M11. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot via the construction of an addition. The existing dwelling and proposed addition will comply with all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw, but is considered a substantial alteration, and under the second except clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, such substantial alteration requires the grant of special permit. The existing building coverage is 1,449 square feet, 10.8%, and the proposed building coverage is 1,665 square feet, 12.4%, where 15% is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 13,444 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protective bylaw.
Okay, so before we get to you, Mr. Schreiber, I'm going to make an announcement, and that announcement includes a letter from our building commissioner, and he reviewed, he's sitting actually right here, Jay Briggs. He reviewed this application, and under the circumstances, as it turns out, it doesn't actually need a special permit because it's a very small one-car garage, and that is accepted from the law. And I'm going to read this letter, and it says, "Dear ZBA members, on November 6, 2024, I have reviewed the ZBA application for the above referenced address, including all submittal documents. The application was filed under Section VB of the protective bylaw. I believe the applicant filed his application out of an abundance of caution, and so there was complete transparency. Case law, specifically Bajorglin versus Zoning Board of Appeals of Norwell, determined that certain small-scale alterations on non-conforming lots would not constitute an intensification, thus not requiring a special permit. One of the listed small-scale alterations includes the addition of a one-story garage for no more than 2 vehicles. The applicant is proposing to add a one-story garage to his existing garage to make it a 2-car garage. Whereas the work proposed does not require a special permit under Bajorglin and can be done by right with a building permit, I believe it would be prudent to suggest that the applicant withdraw the application without prejudice." Is it okay if we do that for you, sir?
When we turned the documents into the permit coordinator, Sarah Clark, she advised us that one-story garage for one car were accepted from the legislation. I conferred with my client, and he preferred to have from a
Transparency?
have it open.
Yes, he did,
So-
and
so that-
he knows about this, though, and he
Yeah,
would like
yeah.
to withdraw it.
So I went back and I handed the application in. And since then, haven't had much conversation about what would happen. But I knew that it would either be, there would be some technicality about it. And so I just wanted to make sure that in the interest of transparency, it came before you.
Yes,
And
yes.
so we're perfectly happy to withdraw without prejudice.
Thank you, and we'll have Paul make that motion.
I will accept the motion to withdraw without prejudice and move that for the consideration of the board.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
As do I. Thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you.
See you next time. All right, we're going to wait till Steve sits down. He's going to rejoin the meeting.
Steve, did you hear the vote? 5 against.
Okay, we're going to go to 322 Pleasant Street.
Application number 24-111, Raul and Aparna Kahana, care of William F. Riley Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owners of property located at 322 Pleasant Street, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 2A, Block 76, Lot B45. The applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot via the construction of additions and decks. The existing dwelling is non-conforming, and that it is located 14.4 feet from the southerly abutter where a 15-foot setback is required. The proposed additions and decks will comply with all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw, but is considered a substantial alteration, and under the second except clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, such substantial alteration requires the grant of a special permit. The existing building coverage is 1,317 square feet, 9.1%, and the proposed building coverage is 2,176 square feet, 15%, where 15% is the maximum allowed. The lot is nonconforming in that it contains 14,505 square feet of buildable upland, where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protected bylaw.
Attorney Riley.
Good afternoon, Bill Riley, on behalf of Raul O'Connor, who is here online, and as is Karen Kempton, our architect. And this is a project where
Do you have one?
the Connor family purchased the property this year and wanted to add, excuse me, a garage. They retained the services of Karen Kempton to do that design. And so Karen will do that presentation. I do want to mention at the outset that apparently there was some confusion between the contractor and the building code. So he didn't realize he needed a building permit for a lot of work. That's all been squared away, I'm told, with the building department, finally. But I did want to acknowledge that at the outset. But none of the work involved in this application was started without a building permit. In fact, none's been started because we don't have the permit. But I just wanted to let you know that. So what I'll ask first is for Karen to go through the design, and then we'll talk about the circumstances.
Sure. Welcome, Karen.
You're muted,
Thank you.
Karen.
Can you hear me now?
Now we
Yes.
can, yeah.
Okay. Sarah, if you could bring up the site plan. I'm Karen Kempton, architect for the Connors, who I met this summer to discuss plans for their new addition. The three main goals of the addition were, number one, to create a two-car garage where none existed to the existing house. And number two, create a primary suite on the main floor level. And number three, to improve the entry and look of the front elevation. So as you can see on the site plan, it made sense to add the garage on the west side of the existing house. The addition is not visible from Pleasant Street, and even the house is not visible from Pleasant Street if you've been out there. It's down a long driveway. The addition is 47 feet away from Salt Spray Lane, which is a private way, and it's heavily treed in that area. The main increase in coverage is due to the garage and the stair access up to the main level, and this is 695 square feet. So if we can go to the existing plans, so as you can see, if you went out there, the main entrance door is actually to the lower level and enters through a family room. So you can see in the elevation right there where the door is, and there's a small portico, and then that side door goes into a bedroom area. And if we go to the existing floor plan, you see when you come in through the front door, you sort of walk through a family room to get to the staircase, which is in the upper left-hand corner. So the on the existing plans, you enter into this lower level, and the main living area of the house is on actually a second floor, and I'll call that the main level at this point. That's where the existing kitchen and living room is, and there are two bedrooms, which we are combining into one bedroom. The proposed plan, if we can go to that now, creates a separate foyer area with the adjacent stairs going up to the main level. So we've removed the existing entrance door and put it in the center of the house now, so that you enter into a foyer with the stairs going up on the right-hand side, closer to the foyer without having to walk through that family room. It also helps us connect to the new garage so that we don't have to access the garage through a bedroom, which would be a code violation anyway. The primary suite is located over the garage. If we go to the main floor plan, which is the second floor plan, it is a 1.5-story addition. And we have combined the 2 small front bedrooms into a 1 ensuite bedroom to get the bedroom count to remain at 4. It was important to the Kanas to have their bedroom on this level rather than climbing up another set of stairs to the existing primary suite on basically the attic level. As the garage addition is only 1.5 stories, if we go to the front elevation, the height of the addition is only 24 feet from the top of foundation and is actually 6 feet lower than the existing main ridge. Because the garage is slab on grade, there is no increase in basement area, so that doesn't affect or increase the gross floor area calculations by adding a basement. So the existing gross floor area is 3,850 square feet, and the proposed gross floor area is 5,415 square feet. As you know, the garage and the new foyer add about 800 square feet to this number, even though there is only 220 square feet of actual living space that's added to that lower level. The addition of the new bedroom above the garage adds 665 square feet of finished living space, which again is minimal, and 700 square feet of gross floor area. So if we go to the second floor and then go to the attic area, you can see that on the attic, yeah, there you go. On the attic area, there's the existing bedroom that's there. We're not doing any work there, nor are we having any additional finished space above our addition. So we have worked hard to keep the building coverage below 15%. It is actually at 14.8%, even though I believe it was advertised at 15%. And that 14.8% includes the corner boards. So if we go back to the front elevation, we hope that you agree that this is an attractive addition to the house that answers the owner's needs while improving the look of the house and by creating a more welcoming entry. I'm here for questions when you have them.
Thank you, Karen. Just run through the criteria. Adequacy of the size of the site in terms of the size of the proposed use. We believe that the site is adequate. With the proposed addition, we are increasing our coverage, as Karen said, to 14.8%, where 15% is allowed. The compatibility of the size of the proposed structure, I have a third page that compares, and our building, as proposed, is one of the larger. There's one at 335 that is a little bit bigger in terms of gross floor area. But when looking at the comparison numbers, I'd ask you to keep in mind that a lot of the buildings that we're comparing ourselves to have no garage. And so a lot of them were built back in the 50s when, of course, they only came down in the summertime, and why would you need a garage in the summertime? So that's why many of the buildings are somewhat smaller. Almost all the buildings in the neighborhood are 1.5 stories or 2 stories. So in that respect, our building is compatible with the neighboring properties. So the increase in the non-conforming nature here is the increase in the living area. Not only are we adding a 2-car garage, but we're putting living space above it. And so that requires, so we're outside the safe harbor in the Bjorklund case. The suitability of the site, including but not limited to impact on neighboring properties or on the natural environment, including slopes, vegetation, wetlands, groundwater, water bodies, and stormwater runoff. The site is suitable for the proposed construction. As you've been there, you know, it's a very level site. There are no wetlands or water bodies close by. Stormwater runoff is not going to be an issue because not only is it level, it's also very sandy if you've been there. So we don't think that, we think the site is suitable for the proposed construction. Impact of scale, siting, and mass on neighborhood visual character, including views, vistas, and streetscapes. Although our building is taller than most of the buildings around it, since the original building is 29.8 feet tall or something like that, according to Tom Stello's site plan, the fact is, as Karen mentioned, you can't see it from Pleasant Street. Now, if you drive around on the Long Road, you can kind of see it through the trees. The homes on Salt Spray Lane are also kind of looking at it through the trees. But I don't think that from their point of view, because of the distance the house is from their properties, in terms of scale and siting, we don't think this property is a detriment to the neighborhood. Certainly not a substantial detriment to the neighborhood because of its location. And also point out, if you've driven around the neighborhood, as Paul probably has done many times, a lot of the homes there are taller because they want to get a view of the water. So they put decks up on the roofs. And so although we're close to the maximum height on the main building, you know, the proposed addition, which is what you're considering, is, as Karen said, significantly below that ridge, and is only 25 feet in height. So I think that in terms of scale, siting, and mass on the neighborhood visual character, because of its location away from the street by a significant distance, and the fact that the property is surrounded by treed lots, and there's a 6-foot solid fence between the property and Long Road, we think that the visual impact of the property is not substantially more detrimental than the existing structure. When you start with the existing structure at 29 feet, you know, our addition is small in comparison. And I think Karen's design is attractive. Compatibility of the proposed use with neighboring uses. It's against a single-family residence in a single-family neighborhood, so it is compatible. Method of sewage disposal, source of water and drainage. The septic system does have to be shifted over so that we believe there'll be an improvement in that respect. We think there'll be no negative impact on traffic flow and safety. Our only access is the small driveway out on Pleasant Street. Again, because of the location of the property, we don't think there's an issue regarding noise and litter. And the utilities and other public services are adequate. That'll be our presentation, Madam Chair.
Oh, thank you. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate. Is there anybody that likes to speak in favor? No? Okay. I will read the correspondence then. I thought there was somebody, that's why I was curious. I thought your client wanted to speak in favor. Am I wrong? Because now's the time.
Yeah, Raul, if you want to speak in favor, please indicate.
Yes,
by-
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Attorney Riley.
Thank you.
Yes.
This is Rahul Khanna. I think Karen and Attorney Riley did a tremendous job in summarizing our objectives. We purchased this property earlier this year in April timeframe, and given the young family we have, I think one of the main constraints was there kind of wasn't one floor that would give us all 2-bedroom plus a living space where we can all come and live. Our primary residence is in Weston, not as Western, W-E-S-T-O-N. And we will be visiting here primarily during weekends and holidays. So we were looking for one floor that will give us enough space with enough bedrooms. Lack of garage was a shortfall. So I think this definitely accomplishes what we were looking for. We went through the diligence of making sure it meets all the zoning requirements, all the bylaws. I thank Attorney Riley as well as Karen for doing a tremendous job in the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now I will read the correspondences. There are 3. First one is from, what is that noise? Oh, if you please, yeah, do I have to say any more? Shut it off. On 11/5/2024, we have a letter from Judith Giorgio saying, "I have reviewed the plan to renovate and add an addition to this property. The property is approved for 4 bedrooms. The proposed layout maintains for 4 bedrooms. The new addition will not encroach on the existing septic system. Modifications to the septic system are proposed, though. Plans and permit application to modify the system must be submitted to the Health Department for approval." Next, we have a note from Christine McCarthy from November 5th, 2024. Good afternoon. You will find that there is a parcel balance for application 24-111, 322 Pleasant Street, Raul and Arpana Kana. The first half real estate and personal property taxes are outstanding, due 11/1/2024, and they also have a past due water bill. I would like to thank you in advance for your assistance on this matter. And then I do have the balances for that, but I don't really feel the need to read it. And we'll let you talk about that on rebuttal time if we could. Okay. Next, we have a note from Cindy and Steve Kreischer, 14 Salt Spray Lane, property abutting 322. That was received on November 4th, 2024. We have reviewed the plans proposed by the Connors application. We have the following concerns if this project is approved. 1, work has already begun on this house prior to any approvals. A large purple dumpster arrived shortly after the house was purchased. A building crew showed up and started to work on the deck and inside the house. That was followed by a request to put the new driveway entrance to their home off Salt Spray Lane. Salt Spray Lane is a private road, and the homeowners agreed that we do not want the new driveway off of our private street. 2, shortly after the dumpster arrived, the crew began piling up debris from the existing decks outside and inside the home. Each day, they set this debris on fire. I reached out to Raul to tell him he needed a permit and no burning was allowed. He did not respond to the email, which is located below, right in this correspondence. To tell him he needed a permit, no burning was allowed. He did not respond, but the fires seemed to get smaller for a few weeks. Then they started a huge fire on August 22, and we contacted the fire department. The fire department was at the house for a long time, and all the fires and building outside the house ended, but the debris and dumpster remain. A neighbor sent an email to Raul about the mess in the yard this week, November 2. He has the crew here cleaning up, removing staircase, and maybe he will empty the dumpster now that it's full. 3, since our concerns are centered on this homeowner's process of starting things without approvals, Our ask would be that the inspectors take a look at what has already been done that may not be on the plans, and check out the property on a regular basis to make sure whatever is approved is actually what is being built. 4, landscaping does not come into play on this property since it's not in a conservation land, but we would like to go on the record stating that of the trees on Salt Spray Lane, that they should not be trimmed or taken down. The surveyor has done a nice job marking out property lines. 5, in conclusion, we are fine with the house plans as long as it is built to spec, provided for the specs that is provided in the application. And then he also provides email August 8th to homeowner. Hi, Raul. We live on Salt Spray Lane behind your new home. There is a lot going on over there for summer. Usually building noise is kept to a minimum in the summer. Now there is a fire all day, every day, and we no longer can open our windows. Can you please ask your builders to stop burning? Not sure they even know they need a permit, and it's for January to May. We have an infant and small grandchildren, so we are running our air conditioner 24/7. I think that concludes, yeah, it does. Now, is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or has a specific question?
Daniel D. Pompey has his hand raised.
Hello, sir. If you'd like to speak, you have 5 minutes. You have to unmute yourself. Daniel, would you like to speak against the application? Or do you have a specific question? If so, please unmute.
Okay, I just unmuted. I had 2 different unmutes, so I apologize.
No worries.
Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Dan D. Pompey. I'm at 350 Pleasant Street. I'd just like to state I agree with the letter from the residents on Salt Spray Lane. I own the abutting property just to the south of this, and I reported the construction work to the fire department a couple of times this summer because they were openly burning construction waste in the backyard. I know the fire department came over, but it didn't seem to have corrected anything. Now, that being said, I'd like to say that I think the house plans are fine. I think the biggest difficulty is going to be in executing the construction. The only access to this lot is the approximately 12-foot wide, 150-foot long driveway. They do not have access from Salt Spray Lane. That was going to be one of my comments also, unless those people grant special permission. But it seems as if they have not granted special permission. So all of the construction equipment, all of the deliveries, anybody involved in this house is going to have basically a 12-foot wide, 150-foot long driveway to go through. Plus, I'm not certain there's sufficient room on the property to put the number of construction vehicles. Now, because what frontage it has, the 12-foot frontage is on Pleasant Street. Pleasant Street is also very busy during the summer months from June through September with walkers going back to the public beach. As I'm sure the members of the committee know, there's no parking either on or off of Pleasant Street day or night. So my biggest concern is just how they're going to manage access for all of the construction materials and work that goes on. My second biggest concern is the noise, because a lot of this work is going to be high up, including the decks that I'm happy to see they've changed the plans on the decks. But all of that work generates a lot of noise. And most of the smaller houses in this area are rental houses. And it's very disruptive to those of us that own the rental houses. That completes my remarks, unless you have any questions for me.
No, thank you very much. Is there anybody else here or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against or has a specific question? Ma'am, please, when you get up to the microphone, next to that attorney.
Watch out for the attorney.
My name is Mary McGinley. My husband Kevin and I own the property at 6 Salt Spray Lane, which is adjacent to the property at 322 Pleasant Street. We're not opposed to the addition, but my concern is that Salt Spray Lane is privately owned by the 4 homeowners who have homes there. And there's 10 feet of wooded area between our street and the property at 322 Pleasant Street, and which is also owned by the homeowners on Salt Spray. And my concern is that I don't want any construction vehicles on Salt Spray Lane. It's a very narrow street. We all have grandchildren who play in the street, and it is private. Also, during the construction, I don't want people cutting through that area because we're concerned that the shrubs and trees will be damaged. We don't want any of that to happen. We value our landscaping there. Also, we do not want the driveway from 322 Pleasant Street to be extended onto Salt Spray. We have already told the property owners there that we do not want that. And I'm also concerned about the construction materials being burned, which they were in the past, and we would like them to be disposed of in a timely manner so that we're not looking at a huge mess. And I was wondering also if there are certain regulations about construction during the summer months or weekends, or what the hours are that construction is allowed.
We can address that at the end, and we do that all the time, and it sounds like we're going to take care of what you're concerned about.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else wish to speak against or has a specific question anywhere? Seeing none, Attorney Riley, time to rebut.
Well, there's really not much to rebut. I mean, Mr. Khanna has acknowledged that his construction guys shouldn't have been burning the material. They're no longer doing that. They're going to use dumpsters to get rid of the material as they're supposed to. I would suggest the concern of the folks on Salt Spray during construction could be handled if one of the requirements of a special permit, which I hope you'll grant, would be the placement of a temporary construction fence, those orange plastic fences along the property line between the Khanna property and Salt Spray Lane. That would prevent workers going through that area. Happy to have that as a condition. Happy to have the standard summertime limitations, no exterior construction from June 30th to Labor Day. If they are working there inside, no work before 8 o'clock, no work after 5 o'clock, and no work on weekends. And all construction vehicles have to be kept on the property. The driveway is narrow, but there's plenty of room on the property itself. If you've driven in there, there's plenty of room there for work vehicles. So I'm confident that this can be constructed in a manner that minimizes the disturbance to the neighbors. With regard to the taxes, I'd only point out that, of course, the taxes were due November 1st, and so we're not really late yet, but I did notify Mr. Khanna that before this permit could be issued, that bill will have to be paid, and proof is sent over to staff here that the bill's been paid. Again, as I say, that we think that the addition actually improves the look of the building. Right now, the western side of the building is just a tall vertical wall, not particularly attractive. And placing the addition there, which is really just a story and a half, really softens that and really brings the whole thing together. So that'll be our presentation.
Thank you very much. Questions from the board? Ginny?
A couple of questions, Mr. Riley. Gross floor area, your chart that you have in the back, you're indicating that the current gross floor area of 322 on your sheet is 3850, but on our paperwork, it says it's 4716. The reason I'm asking is because when you show it to us like this, which is very helpful, it's showing the proposed gross floor area as, there's only one house out of 11 that's larger than that.
Right. Well, the number I got for that was the original building plan, which is attached, provided the gross floor area, and that's the number I used. I didn't actually attempt to calculate that. I have, it's sheet A1 of the original plan, shows gross floor area 3850. So I don't know if, I didn't check it.
Okay. Let's see. This is a kind of a, well, I wasn't clear either on the proposed.
Can you show that plan, Sarah? Thank you. I'm sorry, Ginny. It's A1, there you go.
Oh,
See, so in the center there, it says existing gross floor area includes basement.
Bill, I don't believe, and Karen can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe it included the attic finished area, which was 866.
Okay. So
Okay.
that accounts for the difference. Okay, so I just wanted to confirm which one we were looking at. The one you have shown on this comparison page, it still would be the third, there are only 3 houses that are larger out of 11, but at the current, or the confirmed gross floor area of 4,700, there's only one larger. Quick question about the height. What exactly is changing on the height? Because the height of the garage is 24 feet, but the proposed height of the building on the paperwork showing it a little bit taller than what's existing. So what is that referencing? Why is it showing that change?
Well, I'm not certain. Where it says existing building computation, is that that's the existing ridge of the existing house.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm looking at, I'm just trying to understand what's changing with the height. Doesn't look like anything's changing with existing home height.
That's correct.
Okay, and then it's the garage at 24 feet.
Right.
Okay, so there isn't a change to the house height, but that's what it looks like when you're looking at our paperwork.
Our building commissioner has offered to help with that.
Sorry to interrupt. So the difference is the grade plane's changed with the addition of the garage.
Okay.
We measure grade plane 20 feet around the perimeter of the structure.
Okay,
So with that expansion, now the grade plane has changed, but it's only changed 1/10 of a foot.
okay,
And so the highest point on the structure is still the existing ridge.
okay. That's what I want to confirm. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, questions?
I think one of the concerns of one of the neighbors was the lack of any sort of landscaping. Is there anything planned between Salt Pond, I guess it is, and
Salt spray.
Salt Spray in the back of this house that might act as a buffer between that neighborhood and the house?
Well, I think what they've indicated, in this, the neighbor over here, where the plan goes, there's an existing 10-foot strip. Go back to the site plan. So you see, you can see the pavement is outlined. Here's the pavement. That line is the pavement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so then you have this area here, which was a concern of the neighbors, that they not go through that.
Okay.
So that provides a visual barrier.
Okay.
I don't know if Rahul wants to talk about what his plans are for landscaping in the property. I mean, we haven't talked about it because it's just the garage, but
If you could wait till you're recognized by the chair, sir. We're going to let Attorney Riley finish his thought, and then you raise your hand, and then I'll likely recognize you.
right, so again, if Rahul has some plans for landscaping, I'd ask him to explain to the board what they are.
Okay? Raul, go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon again. I'm Rahul Khanna, owner of 322. Three things I would like to mention, starting with the landscaping plan. We do plan not to disturb the existing woods around the house on Salt Spray. But in addition to that, once the construction is complete, we do have plans to actually increase some green hedging by planting arborvitaes or some appropriate green trees that won't grow too tall, because I do appreciate that neighbors don't want tall trees there that would block their view to the water. So definitely it's a little bit earlier to come up with an exact landscaping plan, but we would be installing some kind of an green hedging that goes all the way across between Salt Spray and the property line. That's one. Second, I do want to go back to some of the neighbors' concern on burning wood. During summer, I had some medical emergency and I was out for a few weeks, hospitalized. So I did not get timely email from one of the neighbor regarding wood burning. But as soon as I learned about contractor doing wood burning, I immediately stopped him, and I apologize for any inconvenience that must have caused to the neighbors. I do undertake that all the construction will be done in compliant. All the residual material coming from the site will be disposed of in the correct manner and won't be burned on site. And third thing, I do want to mention about the taxes. Attorney Riley emailed to me today morning regarding some outstanding dues. The property has still not been transferred in our name. It's still showing under the previous owner name. So I was waiting for that to be
tax
corrected.
office.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all very, very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Nonetheless, I did pay all the taxes
Yeah,
today
wait.
morning, $5,062.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much. Very helpful.
Thank you.
Attorney Riley,
Thank
back to you. Any more? on
No,
this?
I think we're done right now.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
one more thing. There's a rather large, good-sized oak tree that looks like it's going to be taken down because of the
Right.
garage. Is there any sort of mitigation plan for that, or what are you doing for that? Anything at all?
Nothing that I'm aware of. I mean, I think what's going to happen is, once the construction's complete, the Connor family is going to landscape the entire property. But unfortunately, the oak tree is directly in front of the proposed door to the garage, so it's going to have to be removed.
And there's a rather large parking area that goes well beyond the garage. It kind of looks like there was something there now. It might have been shell at one time and it's been overgrown, but is this parking area really going to go all the way to the rear of their property? It says existing shell parking. Is that going to be maintained?
I don't know, I haven't discussed that with the Connor family. As you can see by this aerial photograph, I mean, that particular portion of the property is surrounded by significant woods. I mean, I don't know that I suppose we could ask Mr. Connor whether he plans on reducing the size of the parking area once he has the garage constructed. So Raul, did you hear the question?
I did, and we haven't thought about it. I think two-car garage, it does give us enough room for our, to park our cars. So we haven't thought about it, but nonetheless, I don't foresee us using additional parking space at the property.
Okay, thank you. Steve, you're comfortable?
No, that's it, thank you.
Wow, questions?
Bill, maybe you can give me a little history on this, because it seems as if we're taking decks off that were perhaps not in compliance with zoning setback requirements that had been constructed, and was that was prior to this owner
No,
owning it?
no, that was while this owner was not around. They constructed decks which didn't comply with the zoning bylaw. It's my understanding that those have been removed so that anything that currently exists on the property does comply with the zoning setbacks.
When you say when the owner was not around, do you mean before he owned the property?
No, he just testified. Been in court too often.
I understand.
In his
he was
discussion, he just
hospitalized.
said he was away for a while.
Okay. So what happened was that the contractor did some deck construction without any approved plans?
That's correct.
And those were then, what prompted those to be changed?
Well, Tom Stello did a site plan that showed the violations. And so Karen and I and Tom Stello brought these to the attention of Mr. Connor and how important it was that these things are supposed to be done with a building permit according to the building code, and to the extent that they were at that point shown on Tom's plan as being in violation of the setback, they had to be removed or reduced in size. That's my understanding, and perhaps Jay can answer more fully. It's my understanding that they have been brought into compliance and that a building permit has been either issued or has been applied for the decks.
Jay is going to respond to that.
So the building department became aware of the situation when we got a call from the fire department that said they had made a second run out to the site for illegal burning, and they were very concerned. So we went out to the site to do our own inspection, and we saw brand-new deck construction without a building permit. So we put a stop work order on the site. And we asked for a site plan because we had no site plan to determine, we couldn't tell at that time whether or not there was a violation other than the fact they were working without a permit. So we started this whole process of getting a site plan. They have applied for the new decks so that the decks comply with the setback. That permit hasn't been issued yet. We're still waiting for additional information. They also have a permit for interior work on the existing structure, which I don't know if that's actually been I don't know if that's been issued yet or not. It may have been issued. I don't know if you can check that, Sarah. But we have structural concerns inside the structure as well that we want to make sure we get to see before anything gets covered up. So it's on our plate to maintain close contact with this property. But those items are kind of not really tied to the application today with the addition.
Who is the contractor that's doing the work?
I don't recall the name of the contractor.
CP Construction and Carpentry Company.
C Street?
C as in, I do not know how to pronounce his first name.
Okay.
Clodomiro.
Jay, in the work that you've done out there, is this a contractor who is familiar with our ordinances?
On the occasions that I went to the site, there were no contractors on site.
Okay. Were the decks that were constructed in accordance with some plans?
Not that I'm aware of. We never received any plans at that time.
And the burning that was going on site, what was being burned?
I didn't see the material. The fire department said it was like construction debris and household items.
Okay. None of the work is going to affect, I noticed that we're at 29.8 feet in terms of the height. None of the work that's being done at this point is going to affect that issue of compliance with the 30-foot max height restrictions.
Correct.
Okay. Bill, is it, I was a little confused by the answer earlier. Is there a stretch of land opposite Salt Spray that is owned by the owner of this property, or is that simply a right-of-way area?
I'll put the site plan up again, Sarah, so I can make sure I understand Paul's question. Okay, so the solid line is the property line.
Yep.
So this area is owned by the owners of Salt Spray.
Okay.
And so we have no authority or ability to do any work in this area without their permission. Their permission is not going to be requested. As I indicated earlier, we're willing to put a temporary construction fence, that orange plastic stuff, along this property line to ensure that none of the contractors or employees attempt to cross over through the Salt Spray property onto Salt Spray Lane, and that their only access will be through the driveway here.
And presumably, none of them could park on Salt Spray or on Long's Lane?
That's correct.
So the only access is from Pleasant Street to come up that right-of-way?
That's correct, but as Steve pointed out, we do have a large parking area that already exists on the site.
Yeah. It's a pretty narrow one. I mean, I scraped the car driving up there with the branches.
I know, but you get a big car.
That's probably it, huh? I'm sure it's nothing compared to what might be necessary to do that construction on the garage.
Well, that's the access. I mean, the house that's there was built using that access, so presumably, perhaps what they should do is mark the lines of the access and trim the trees back so they have the full width clear, because we don't want you to get scratches on your car, Paul.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Am I correct in thinking that the existing plans that are offered are not plans that were prepared by Karen?
That's correct.
Okay.
You mean the plans for the existing house?
Yes.
Yeah, no, not by Karen. They were done by Tom Moore in Brewster.
Yep.
Anything else, Paul?
I think those are the only questions I had.
All right, David Nixon, questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Ed Acton, questions?
No questions.
And David Veach?
I have no questions.
No, and I just want to comment that, it seems like they've been off to a rough start, but am I correct in assuming that there's remorse and fences, so to speak, will be mended? That's my question. Everything's going to be fine now?
I believe so. I mean, I think what happened was, I don't know who the contractors were, but they were unsupervised, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I think the important thing to keep in mind is that Karen's design for the addition is modest and attractive, and all the neighbors have spoken in favor of it.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, Well,
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds
I vote yes.
and votes yes.
All votes yes?
Jane votes yes.
as do I. All right, now deliberations. Dave Veach.
Well, I think I think you summed it up pretty well. I mean, I've heard positive comments from neighbors, et cetera, all with respect to this plan, the plan that Karen has shown and the plan that they're asking us to approve. And I think that I can support that. I can support it, and the past problems don't really bear on this necessarily. Those were problems in the nature of execution and not with respect to this plan and going forward. I think if we do our, conditioning and I'm sure that the building department will be keeping an eye on them. And so I'm keeping my focus on the plan, which I think is a good one. And I don't think it's substantially more detrimental in the neighborhood. And I think that it meets our criteria, and I'll support it.
And Ed, what do you think?
I guess I do have a quick question. Mr. Riley, do you know if the owners have retained the same construction company to do the addition, to do the garage?
I don't know, Mr. Khan is on the line. Raul, have you identified a contractor to do the construction on the addition?
We have not. I think once the plans have been approved, I will be floating the RFP and request some bids from the local contracting company.
Is it safe to say that you're not going to use the original contractors that did this other work?
Well, they will be part of the bidding process as well, but we haven't decided on which contracting company would be executing on that. Nonetheless, I think the concerns are noted.
Okay. I guess to follow up on that, would Karen be doing any inspections or monitoring the project at all?
Karen, did you hear the question?
Is that part of your contract,
I
Karen?
did. Usually I'm called out to the project site to verify beams and resize beams as necessary. So I do visit the site, especially if there are questions during construction.
Okay. The neighbors seem to be happy with the project. There is the addition is about looks to be a few feet lower than the existing height. You are getting up there to the maximum coverage, but I'm glad to see it's 14.8, but not 15. But I guess I could support the project.
And Dave Nixon, your thoughts?
Well, Mr. Riley, a couple of things. In your analysis, you point out on number 2, the house is already somewhat larger than the houses around it. It's very tall. That's for sure. And that's not going anywhere. That's going to stay the same, isn't it? But what you're doing is you're going from less than 10% coverage up to the max. So what's this doing? If you add that to an extremely tall house now, to my mind, that makes it not compatible with the neighboring properties. There's nothing around it that's even vaguely like it. And when you put the height of this house with a house that's built to the max, this puts it over the edge for me, and it makes it substantially more detrimental. Likewise, number 5, which is impact of scale, siding and mass on the neighborhood. You point out, although our building is taller than most around it and larger, it won't have much of an impact. I disagree. As you say, it is larger again. It's going to have a big change on the visual character. The homes around it, the one beside it, yeah, that when you look over that fence, oh man, all those decks are going to go there. The folks behind it. I just cannot see that this isn't anything but substantially more to the neighborhood, and detrimental to the neighborhood, and that's the way I'll be voting.
David, can I just make one comment? That I think, and this is why I believe why the neighbors support it, is that locating the addition against that tall vertical wall that faces Salt Spray is going to make the view from that property more attractive. If you recall the extensive debate we had on the property at 1369 Main Street, where the worry was, looking at the side view. We have the same situation here, only we're going to improve the side view.
Okay. Paul, deliberations.
Well, I guess that I have some of the same concerns that Dave Nixon has in terms of the impact, but I think the impact is really on Salt Spray, not so much on Pleasant Street, because you can't see it from Pleasant Street. It's the area on Salt Spray and towards Long's Lane where there's more of an impact. I'm having difficulty in looking at the diagrams that have been presented to give us a feel for how this is actually going to look. The vegetation between this property and Salt Spray is pretty minimal. And I understand that there's some concern, I guess, from your clients that they don't want to block a view towards the water. I'm not quite sure what that view is by putting arborvitae in. But I'm wondering if they could bolster our information with respect to the question of how the plantings would go in this area, the landscaping, so that we had a better feel for how it impacts the neighborhood.
Well, I think what I would suggest would be a condition that any plantings along the Salt Spray line be limited in height to 8 feet, so that if there are views, and most of the houses there, if you look around, as you know, in your neighborhood, people build these decks they get up on once a year and look out at the water. So, again, I'm not certain what the views might be from Salt Spray, but we're happy to have a limit on the height of any plantings done on the locust, so that they can't possibly block anybody's view.
Well, as I say, I don't know whether there are any views there or not, to tell you the truth, but, and I don't know whether 8 foot's appropriate or whether, we shouldn't be messing with that at all. But it certainly doesn't seem as if there's much of a buffer looking from the property where it is right now across that Salt Spray. I mean, the tree line there is minimal.
Well, I agree, and I think that's one reason why Mr. Khan is planning a buffer strip of green vegetation, whether it's arborvitae or eastern red cedars or, some other appropriate planting in that area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, as I say, I think we're operating without maybe much information in connection with that. It wasn't something I was focusing on. Okay, that gives me the information that I'm looking for. Thank you.
Steve, deliberations.
Well, I think it's a very nice looking addition. The house that's there now is very tall, but I think the addition of the additions tend to draw that down a little bit, but it still is very, very tall. I guess my biggest concern is the amount of coverage. You're adding 2/3, going from 9% to 15%, and you're adding 2/3 of the existing house and maxing it out. I'm looking at the information that you provided with the square footages of some of these houses, and it's going to be nearly twice the size or 3 times the size of some of these other houses in the neighborhood, and I'm worried that it's going to be somewhat detrimental to the neighborhood.
Well, I think one of the things to keep in mind is that, like, for instance, 350, the gentleman who spoke earlier, it's a very small, modest house. You can't see the Khan property from that house. And you can't see that house from the Khan property. So part of the problem with comparing numbers is, what can you actually see? Because it's supposed to be scale, sighting, and mass on the visual character. Well, if you can't see it, then you're not affecting the visual character. From the neighbor's point of view, over on Salt Spray, the addition is actually going to soften the way the property looks. And I guess it's always a mystery to me why, if we have a 15% lot coverage, used to be 25, believe it or not, why when we come in close to it, that somehow that's a bad thing. I mean, it's, if we have that number in there, presumably you can build to that number. And I guess it's, notwithstanding Mr. Nixon's concerns, I think one of the most important things is, does the house fit on the lot? We meet all the setbacks. We have room for a septic system. We have room for a parking lot that probably should be reduced. I mean, so in other words, it's, I don't think that the fact that it's going to 14.8% is really a bad thing. I think it improves the property, and, at least from the neighbor's perspective, it improves the property. And, so therefore, and something else to keep in mind.
Okay,
As Jay Briggs pointed out, if we didn't have living quarters above the garage, we don't need a special permit to add the garage. So really, all you're voting on is, can we have living quarters above the garage? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Jenny, last but not least.
Well, I agree with a lot of my colleagues' comments. It's not just the max coverage, it's the max coverage almost, plus the almost max height, plus the 27-foot added length to the house. And so I think the combination of those three make it criteria 2 for me. Also, I don't agree that you can't see the house. You said in your own summary on number 5 that you can see it through the woods. We were there, and the leaves are falling now, so we were there, and I saw 6 houses just standing in the middle of the subject property, and I think you can see it too on that Google Earth shot that Sarah showed earlier. So just kind of looking, I could see, so it is even though it's down the long driveway, it's in the middle of this complex, and I counted 6 houses that I could see, and most of them were smaller. And your summary here shows that it actually, even without the changes, it's the second, there's only 1 house out of 11 that's larger. So it's a large house, and I think that the fact that you can see it, I think it doesn't meet 2 and 5.
Well, I think what I said earlier was, you can't see it from Pleasant Street, which you cannot. And, the height of the building is not going to change. It's been there since the building was built. And having this addition is actually going to improve the look of the building, so.
Well, I do think I do agree with you, Mr. Riley, it's a very attractive design. But I think it's just this combination. You're also adding a deck. It doesn't have a dimension on it, but I estimate it to be, 15 feet out from the house on that side, 27 feet of the garage. You're adding to the height. The combination of it makes it just, it's kind of an old cottage community, so you do have smaller homes there for the most part, more than just these 11.
Okay, so what do you think you want to do, Mr. Riley? If it's any consolation, I was going to vote in favor, but I'm very upset about this fire situation. And I do think it matters because the purpose and intent of the bylaw involves the health, welfare, and quality of life, safety from fire, flood, and dangers. I think the neighbors have been tremendously patient with all this. If it was me, I would not have been so patient. Not be able to open your windows in the summer, that is unacceptable. So there's an issue of trust here. So that's all I'm going to say.
I'd ask that we be allowed to withdraw without prejudice.
Thank you. Okay, Paul?
I'll move to grant the requested withdrawal without prejudice.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
As do I. Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and we will be back. Okay, we are back. We're back on the hearing, and we're going to go to our next application, which, let's see, 222 Scattery Road, Attorney Litchfield, when Sarah's ready.
Application number 24-115, Scattery LLC, care of William G. Litchfield Esquire, 330 Orleans Road, North Chatham, Mass. 02650. Owners of property located at 229 Scattery Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 17J, Block 2, Lot 11. The applicant seeks to extend special permit number 22-081 for 1 year. The current expiration date is November 29th, 2024. The proposed expiration date is November 17th, 2025. Special permit number 22-081 allowed for the applicant to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a new dwelling, soak pool, and construction of a new driveway. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Sections 6 and 14, and Sections 5B and 8D2B of the Protective Bylaw.
Attorney Litchfield, please.
Thank you.
Go
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, members of the board. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of 229 Scattery Road LLC, which in reality is a gentleman named Ron Ferris and his family. As Sarah indicated 2 years ago, you granted a special permit for construction of a new home designed by Patrick Ahern, and at the time you found that it met all of the criteria as to compatibility without any impact on neighboring properties, neighborhood visual character, et cetera. We are seeking a 1-year extension, which will be coterminous with the conservation order. Nothing has changed in terms of the plans. The Ahern plan is what's proposed to be built, but there were some changes of basically 3 natures or 3 sorts, which is the reason that we're here. First, Mr. Ferris made some interior changes, not to floor plans or anything like that, not to the number of bedrooms, but for energy efficiency, and that took some time to get the design. More importantly and more tellingly, he suffered the death of a family member, which put a crimp in his plans. So we are simply seeking a 1-year extension. When we filed this request a couple of months ago, I don't know exactly when it was, we did not yet have a building permit. A building permit has now been issued, but we wanted to get the extension anyway as a show of good faith. And we will continue, assuming you grant it, we will, once construction actually starts, go forward continuously or expeditiously or whatever the language is. So it's a fairly simple request, a 1-year extension, which, by the way, will be coterminous with the Conservation Commission order.
Okay. Is there anybody here or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this extension? Please make it known. Seeing none, I will read the 2 correspondences that we have. One is from Judith Giorgio, received on November 5th, 2024. I have no issues with the request to extend the special permit for this property. Next, we have a note from the Conservation Commission, received on October 31, 2024. The applicant was issued an order of conditions on November 2, 2022. The project was revised and conditioned to meet the performance standard of the Wetlands Protection Act. This order of conditions is set to expire on November 7th, 2025. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this or has a specific question? Seeing none. Questions from the board? Does anybody have any? No? David Nixon?
Mr. Litchfield, as I think you know, I'm not much in favor of long extensions, so a year is a year, okay, but I don't think I'd want to see you back here in another year.
No, I thank you, Mr. Nixon. I appreciate that. My understanding of both the statute and the interpretation is that once we start, we have to move forward. We don't necessarily have to finish within a year.
No.
But we will go forward. It's not continuously, expeditiously. What's the word in the decision, Sarah?
As continuously and expeditiously as possible.
Oh, it's both words, as continuously and expeditiously as possible, and we will do that.
You know, when I was walking around the house, it doesn't have any protection in the way of revetments or sand dunes or anything. Now, it's true the Barrier Beach is out there, and you can see what's left of it, And I thought to myself, if I had purchased this house, maybe I'm getting cold feet. So, not,
yeah.
I mean, so what, right? But maybe, so I have this 1,100-day thing in the back of my brain, which is 3 years. And
Now, Mr. Ferris does have plans to go forward, and as Mr. Briggs knows, the building permit was finally issued. And we have been in cooperation with the town, we have been a receiver of dredged sand. So that area may be more, not protected, but last longer than it might otherwise.
Well, it's nice for children to build themselves a little fort. Yeah, that's right. Okay, well,
Okay, does anybody else, don't be shy, I just thought I would do it that way. For this, okay, Paul?
I'll move to grant the requested relief to extend the building, to extend the special permit.
We have to go through the deliberations and the whole nine
okay.
yards. So how about just close the hearing and move to deliberations?
I'll move to close the hearing and move it to deliberation.
Dave Veach seconds, vote yes.
I vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, now we'll do deliberations. Ginny?
I understand that things come up, and I think a one-year extension is fine.
Okay, Steve?
I have no issues with the extension of time.
And Paul?
No issues.
David Nixon?
Oh, I made my point.
You did? Ed Acton?
Just one question. The construction activity, I'm reading it here, all construction activity and vehicles to be contained on site or at neighboring property. And then between June 30th and Labor Day, so no construction between June 30th.
The conditions would continue on.
Yeah.
No further questions, thanks.
David Beach?
I have no question.
So I'd say that the request is reasonable, as it must, for us to allow it. So Paul?
I'll move to grant the requested relief on the same conditions that contained in the original application, which we approved.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Vote yes?
All votes yes?
Ginny votes yes.
As do I. It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Our first yes of the day. Yeah. And our next application is going to be 73 Kent Road, application 24-112, Jessica Gu and Philip Chu.
Application number 24-112, Jessica Gu and Philip Chu, care of William F. Riley Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 73 Kent Road, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessors Map 12J, Block 26, Lot G4. The applicant seeks to reconstruct a pre-existing non-conforming private residential pier. The existing pier is non-conforming in that it is 89 feet long and is 6.3 feet wide. The proposed reconstructed pier will be non-conforming in that it will be 89 feet long, where 80 feet is the maximum allowed, and 6.3 feet wide, where 4 feet is the maximum allowed. The property is located in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Sections 6 and 9, and Sections 5B and 8D, 2B of the protective bylaw.
Welcome back, Attorney Riley.
Good afternoon, Bill Riley on behalf of Jessica and Philip. This is simply replacing an existing dock. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Corps of Engineers issued permits for this dock back in 1981. So it's been in place since that time, and they simply, so it's 40-some years old, and they just felt it's time to rebuild it with new materials. So, and it's gone through the Conservation Commission. I can talk longer if you want.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. Anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application, please indicate. Seeing none, I will read the correspondences. There are 4. First, we have a note from Christine McCarthy, and she writes on November 5th, 2024, good afternoon. Attached, you'll find a parcel balance for application 24-112, 73 Kent Road. The first half, real estate and personal property taxes are outstanding, and they also have past due water bill. I would like to thank you in advance for your assistance on this matter. and I will not read any of the details in terms of the amount. Next, we have a note from the Natural Resources Department, Conservation Commission, October 16th, 2024. They tell us that the applicant has submitted a notice of intent that was heard by the commission on October 9, 2024. The project is scheduled for an order of conditions on November 13th. It meets the performance standards of all the applicable laws. Next, we have a note from Jason Holm, Harbor Master, from, let's see what the date is, October 16th, 2024. I reviewed the application for the proposed pier on 73 Kent Road in Riders Cove and found that the reconstruction of the pre-existing non-conforming 89-foot pier will not interfere with navigation or pose any public safety issues. The pier would also not interfere with any existing moorings within the area. And then we have a note from Jennifer Jackman from October 24th, 2024. My name is Jennifer Jackman, and I am ready to express my support for this application from my husband and myself. Our address is 15 Sabins Lane. We believe it will be a great use of that space and wholeheartedly support it. And that concludes the correspondences. Next, I will ask if there's anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or has a specific question. Seeing none, do you want to talk about anything that I've read, or are you good?
I'm disappointed the Red Sox didn't make any moves, but other than that,
Okay. Now, let's see, questions from the board. Ginny?
Just a question about the float and the ramp. Those have to come out every year, is that,
well, they don't have to, but they do.
but they do? Okay, thank you.
Steve?
I have no questions.
And Paul?
I'm sure the Red Sox are waiting for your input, Bill, but we really don't need it. Thank you.
Okay, and David Nixon, questions?
I understood you were going to buy the Celtics for $5 billion. Congratulations.
Sounds like a deal.
And Ed Acton, anything not related to sports?
No questions.
Okay?
I have no question.
Dave Veach, okay, and so I don't have any questions either. Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Yes.
All votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
As do I. Okay, deliberations, we'll start with Ginny again.
I think that it's necessary to replace these things, to keep them. You want to keep them, they're very valuable. I would support it.
And Ed, I'm sorry, Steve?
I have no issues, especially if it's a reconstruction of an existing
Okay,
structure.
Paul?
I think as long as it meets with the harbor master's approval, I have no problem with it.
And David Nixon?
I couldn't come up with any reason not to support it.
And Ed?
No issues with me, it's just replace with like kind, so
Yep.
support it.
And I agree with all previous.
I'm gonna make that. And I'll just make a comment that it's improving because now it's back to what was licensed in terms of the, some portion of it, correct?
No, it's all been licensed. It's always been licensed.
I know, but I mean the side, what was it,
The original Chapter 91, the float was a 8 by 12 on David's plan, I believe. The one that had been installed, I don't know for how many years, was 8 by 14.
Right? That's
So it's an
right.
improvement, is what I'm saying. Positive.
Well, they're bringing it into compliance, which they should have
Correct.
done years
Yeah.
ago.
Right. All right, so with all that, Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted with the condition that the ramp and float shall be removed during the off-season, November 15th through April 15th.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Yes.
All votes yes?
Okay. And Ginny?
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes as well. Did you already vote? Yes. Okay, so that's unanimous. And you disappeared, but congratulations.
You're still there. Tiny in the back.
All right. Next, we have application 24-121, Jillian Sanderson. And whenever Sarah's ready.
Application Number 24-121, Jillian Sanderson, 28 Nutley Road, Brewster, Mass. 02631, agreed lessee of property located at 216B Orleans Road, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessors Map 14H, Block 64, Lot X, 216B. The applicant proposes to operate a business, children's play space with caregiver involvement, under Section 1C of the Chatham Protective Bylaw, which allows a use not specifically enumerated in a district to be authorized by special permit. The lot contains 2.1 acres in the SB and R40 zoning districts. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the Protective Bylaw.
Welcome. If you could each just state your name.
Hi, I'm Jillian Sanderson.
And I'm Jennifer Hart.
All right, very good. And you can proceed.
Sure. So I am a daughter, mom, and a teacher here at the Monomoy District. And one of the things I noticed when raising my two children, Henry and Nora, who's 4 and 3, in the off season, we really are looking for a space for children to be able to be themselves. We know that there are a lot of studies deeply rooted in neuroscience that show that play is essential for childhood development, which is why we are opening Seaside Play. We were able to find our space, which is small, yes, but it'll be perfect for about 5 to 8 children. It has a bathroom with an egress. It also has a front door, so there's 2 access points. It was found acceptable with the Health Division. It meets health and safety requirements of Building and Fire Code. There will be no changes to the traffic flow or safety in the area. In fact, I believe that people will drive even slower through that parking lot, thinking about the children. There will be no impact on the neighborhood visual character. There will be no current changes to the current sewer or septic. There will be no change to the current utilities. And in regard to noise, there will be joyful noise, of course, laughter and fun, and children can be noisy, but we are prepared for that. We do have noise dampening flooring that we've already installed for half of the space, and we will continue all the way across. And then we also ordered noise dampening wall panels. So those will be placed in intervals along, so that way it will absorb. They're made of really high quality felt, which actually absorbs 80% of high frequency sound waves. So we are thinking about our neighbors because we know that it is a quiet complex. We will also only operate within the noise ordinance hours. I think it's 8 to 5, yes. So we will not run classes, and we will not be open after 5 o'clock. And we will not be open for 8 a.m. I believe that this is going to be a really exciting thing for our town. I think it's going to be a wonderful support for our community, the mothers, and Chatham.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there anybody here or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate. Seeing none, do we have any correspondence? Yep, now I will read.
We have one.
Yep. Oh, very good, very good. Somebody online wishes to...
Ashley.
Ashley, do you wish to speak in favor? Yes?
Yes, I'm sorry. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes.
I'm actually driving to pick up my child from daycare. I
sure.
did submit a letter to in support of Jill and her business that she's planning to open. My name is Ashley Kilgallen. I'm a local Chatham resident. I have a 1-year-old. My mom and I co-operate a business called Hanson Business Solutions. We're actually located at 210 Orleans Road, so we're in the same complex. And my mom's on the trustees, and I've met several of the trustees and owners over the years that we've owned a unit there. We are so excited about the potential that this business could bring to the area. I know when I met with Jill back in the spring, when this was kind of more just an idea that she was really putting together, she had mentioned potentially having some resources for moms as well, like whether it's a lactation consultant come in and guest speak, which is something that we just don't really have in the Lower Cape. I do bookkeeping for 2 local nonprofits, one being Monomoy Community Services and one being Nauset Youth Alliance in Brewster. And I just know the challenges that young families and moms face with childcare and activities for children. So I really, really hope that people will consider this change of use because it's something that Chatham definitely is lacking, or not just Chatham, but the Lower Cape in general, because we have to drive quite far distances to get some of the programming that Jill is hoping to put forth.
Okay, do you, Ms. Kilgannon, Ashley, would you like me to
Kilgallen.
would you like me to still read your letter? I'm happy to do that, because it looks like there might be some other information in there, or do you not want me to read it?
No, please do.
Okay, will do, because, very good. Now, is there anybody else that wishes to speak in favor of this application, anywhere? Seeing none, I will now read the three correspondences. Judith Giorgio, our health agent, tells us on 11/5/2024 that the use of the noted property as a child's play space for commercial purposes is acceptable with the Health Division if the space meets all the health and safety requirements of the Building and Fire Code. Detailed plans of the space include egress, bathroom availability, followed by a safety inspection would be required. There is no notable increase in septic flow from this business. Then we have a note from Annie Hayes, received on October 24th, 2024. Good morning. The planning board will hear an application for a change of use at this property on their November 25th, 2024 meeting. Thank you. And then back to Ashley Kilgallen. She tells us that she is in support. I'll just go through and say anything that we didn't just hear. They have a baby boy named Jack, and being a full-time resident of Chatham, they're very her and her husband are very passionate about the future of the town. As a new mom who also happens to be a bookkeeper for 2 local services, she just learned how challenging it is to find care for infants and toddlers, but also finding programming for this age demographic. There's no child care for less than 2-year-olds on 2 to 9 months in the entire town of Chatham, but every mom group I am part of on social media seems to recommend programming for infants and toddlers in the mid to upper Cape regions. It seems that there's an extremely limited amount of programs for the exact age demographic that Jill is looking to serve in the Lower Cape area. Having a place where I can take my child to play and meet other moms with children around the same age is crucial to both my son and me. I can speak highly enough of Jill about what she will bring to this community. She was one of the sweetest humans you could ever meet at 16 years old when I drove her to high school every day. And since we both moved back to the Cape, I can say that she is just as sweet today and really cares about children. With Barbara being a trustee of Nickerson Corners, I have gotten the chance to personally speak to a couple of condo owners regarding Seaside Play. From the conversations I've had, I can say that everyone has had a chance to speak, that I've had a chance to speak to, is very excited about this project, and we fully support Seaside Play, adding this to the condo complex and the community we love so much. Okay, so that's that. Is there anybody here or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or ask a question? No. All right, questions from the board. Dave Veach.
I have no questions.
Ed?
I'm just curious questions.
Sure.
How many children do you expect to have in the facility?
Sure. Like I said, it's a small space. We predict between 5 and 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when I was there looking around, I saw like the courtyard, and I was like, wow, that might be a great place for them to run around. And do you have plans for anything outside?
Not at the moment, just because we're approaching winter. So we're thinking about that. And then I think as the summer months go, we'll obviously go see the trustees and see if that's appropriate, because music sounds better outside.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions, Dave Nixon?
I have one, yes. I'm a little puzzled by, in your description, children's play space with caregiver involvement. So if there wasn't caregiver involvement, what would that mean?
It would be daycare. We're not a daycare establishment. It's not where you can leave your child and then go to the grocery store.
Okay.
So that means that the caregiver will need to stay with the child. That's for insurance purposes. That's also for liability for us. It's just to protect us.
And for socialization.
And for, yeah. so moms can meet moms, or caregivers can meet caregivers.
So that's a real plus for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
We're not
Right.
dummies.
Any questions, Paul?
Not so much a question, I just, you're putting in soundproofing materials. I'm wondering if it makes some sense to put in some cushioning materials so that you can handle the kids at that age for that time frame.
That's a very good point.
For
The
the
ground is very
caregivers.
cushy.
Yes,
And a padded floor.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's my only question.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Steve, your thoughts, questions?
I'm not sure I have any questions. You said the hours were going to be approximately 8 to 5. Is that throughout the year?
So
or-
I will still be teaching. I currently teach preschool at Harwich Elementary School. So I will be continuing to teach there. So we'll be looking at the hours from 3 to 5, that darkness hour for parents, with potentially some morning programming. But that's not ironed out yet.
And is that throughout the summer as well, or just during the school?
Probably just during the school year.
During the
because
school year, okay. And the only other thing that you might want to, because the planning board might ask you about this, is designated parking spaces, near the entrance to your facility, just so that kids aren't wandering around the parking lot or something, so they might ask you about that.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thanks
Yeah.
for that.
Good luck.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Any
Thanks.
questions?
Just to follow up to the number of people you mentioned, or children, you mentioned 5 to 8 is what you're expecting.
Yes.
Is there a requirement that you have to have no more than a certain number that you're aware of?
No, I just think that's what would be safe in the space, just from my professional practice as a preschool teacher and just as a mom, especially with the extra padding, I think that's what would be safe, because not only will the child be there, but also the caregiver.
Right.
So adults take up more space than the littles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And are you going to be open on weekends at all? Or?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
And what about the hours on the
I'm
weekend?
sorry, I should have added that. I
That's okay.
apologize.
No worries.
We're looking at opening on Sundays. That seems to be the day where families really need some additional time, somewhere to go. So we're looking probably from like 9 to 12, just kind of those morning hours.
Yeah, and I think your children and all their relatives will probably, really benefit from it.
Yes.
Just full disclosure, I've been with Jen and, oh, God.
Jill.
Jill.
Jill, yes, I knew that.
It's okay.
Yeah, at the library numerous times with
Yes.
my grandchildren, and, I would almost vouch for you,
Oh,
at
thank
this
you.
point. But
Thank
I
you.
just would say that even if I didn't know you, as a young mother myself, I used to look for places like this, and I had to go all the way into Boston from Peabody to find things like this. And, that was a long time ago, and I'm sure there's more now, but I just think it's such an incredible benefit for the, the parents and the kids as well. So that's why I just wanted to ask if you're going to be open on the weekends, and so I asked you that. And so, Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Yes.
All votes yes?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, deliberations. Dave Veach?
Well, clearly, I think this meets all the criteria that apply. It's not going to be detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood and the town. And I think it'll be an asset, and I'll support it.
Thank you.
Ed?
I certainly would support it. It seems very quiet in that little complex, so I think a little noise may be of benefit.
Okay.
Thank you. And Dave?
I think it's a great thing.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Yes. And Paul?
Yes, I certainly support it. Meets the criteria.
Very good.
Thank
And
Fully support
Steve?
it.
And Jenny?
I do too. I think, I like the setting, how it's off, away from the road.
I agree,
As
yeah.
Ed mentioned, it's quiet. And, I want to thank you for taking this on. I think it's a terrific endeavor, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And
We're
thank you so
excited.
much. And I'm excited to bring my 2 granddaughters there now.
Oh,
And,
2?
Yeah,
Yay,
2.
congratulations.
And so, so I fully support it. Paul?
I'll move to grant the application as submitted.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Yes.
All votes yes?
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes as well. It's unanimous. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Yep, you're welcome. All right, that was easy. Last, we are going to 103 Kelly Lane, 24-113.
Application number 24-113, the Kevin L. Struther Trust and Jean R. Allen Trust, care of Rick Roy, 123A Queen Anne Road, Harwich, Mass. 02650, owner of property located at 103 Kelly Lane, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 11D, Block 10, Lot 12. The applicant seeks to modify special permit number 23-119 granted on January 11th, 2024, which allowed for the construction of additions, stairs, and roof deck. The applicant now seeks to modify the special permit to allow for the constructed stairs to be located 12.6 feet from the northerly abutter, where 13.9 feet was approved and 15 feet is required. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 10,007 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protected Bylaw.
Attorney Riley, you're up again.
Good afternoon, Bill Riley, on behalf of Kevin Strother and his wife Jean Allen. There was a change of contractors, sort of mid-job here. Rick Roy has taken over the project happily for the applicants. And when they did the as-built, they learned that the staircase was 12.6 feet from the property line, where 13.9 had been approved. So it's a yawning gap of, so would ask that you approve the modification so they don't have to completely rebuild the entire staircase.
Okay. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this modification? Please make it known. Seeing none, I would have read the correspondence, but there are not any. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against or has a question about this application? If so, now's your time. Seeing none. Questions from the board? Ginny?
No questions.
Steve?
No question.
Paul?
No
David?
questions.
No questions.
No questions.
Well, I'm just curious, Bill. I mean, I did, and I didn't look closely at the approved plan, but I did take a look back at it. And it seems that the stairway was proposed to be wider than 3 feet, which it is, and it appears to be. But I'm just curious, did they need more steps, or how? Or maybe you can't answer how it is that they got closer than the plan showed.
Well, I think I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is that they told me that the previous contractor had built the steps, and when they did the as-built,
They found out that.
that's what they learned.
Okay, well, I mean, given the situation and looking at this plan, I would expect that perhaps they had not calculated from the landing to the deck. There maybe was an extra couple of steps that they didn't figure was going to be there. I guess I'll assume that at this point. It's certainly an easy mistake to
No, that's a
cover for. Thanks.
very legitimate question, like, how'd that happen? And, okay, Paul?
Well, I think we should make a note of the date that Bill said, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberation.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Dave Nixon?
Yes.
I'll
Paul?
vote yes.
Ginny?
Yes.
As do I, okay. Deliberations. Steve?
I think it's probably an honest mistake. It could have been one extra step coming down off the house. I don't think it's a big deal.
Sure. And Ginny?
Yeah, I think the board, well, we know from our information that the board approved this in January, earlier this year in January, and we found the site to be suitable with no impact on neighboring properties. And the paperwork that was in here that Sarah included showed that 5 neighbors wrote in support at that time. I don't think that this mistake would change what we voted on back then.
Right. And Paul?
I agree. I don't think it affects our original approval.
Dave Nixon? And
I agree as well. It doesn't affect the original approval.
Right. And Dave Veach, you agree?
And I agree as well.
And as do I, as we always look at, would we have done this in the first place? And it sounds like we would have, so, Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Yes?
Paul votes yes.
Jeannie votes yes.
As do I, it's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our zoning board hearing for tonight, and have a motion to,
I will move to adjourn.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed? Vote yes? Adjourn?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh, all right.
all right.
Paul votes yes.
Eve?
I support the motion.
Okay.
Jeannie,
Eve?
yes.
As do I, and what time is it?
4:57 PM.
All right. Good night, Chatham.